Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Sean, they go up to Minnesota and Derek Carr threw for 64 yards in the first half. It's stunning with all of the weapons you have, and I think you'd objectively agree when you look at Chris Olave and Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara and Rashid Shaheed. Like, you got weapons on that. You got weapons. To throw for 64 yards and a half is just, it's almost unfathomable. Like, is this Derek Carr's talent? Is this a lack of consultation here with Pete Carmichael? I mean, why can't they figure this out?
Well, Matt, I've known that great quarterbacks, and I don't mean this as disrespect to anybody, and I shouldn't even have to qualify that. You know the respect I have not only for Carr and Pete, but for the position and how tough it is to play. But let's just call it like we see it, which I try to do as well. One is that great quarterbacks can overcome, if it was play calling you didn't like, great quarterbacks overcome that, man. I'm just telling you, they do. It's just like how many times a coordinator will say, man, he bailed me out on that call. Yeah. Boy, they can dial up the right defense. Great quarterbacks find a way to bail that quarterback out, the coach out. They just do. Now, and the other thing is true. A play that's there, good quarterbacks make them some of the time, and the majority of the time, and miss them. And then the average ones who are inconsistent miss them and make them, and it's just a Dow Jones. In this case, you're right. Inexcusable, number one. Now, the other team's getting paid too, and I will say this, for a team that was so piss poor on defense last year, Brian Flores has done a great job of forcing more long yardage on scoring defense against the run. They're putting offenses in a little bit more of a bind because last year you were playing really, it was like 11 on 7. Their defense was like playing against air. It was, because I go on in Minnesota every week, it was hard to talk about, and you're like, how can they be this bad defensively? Brian Flores done a great job of bettering that. And I think the players have buy-in. But for me, it's, you can't be. But isn't this what I've said Derek Carr is? Next week, when he's out of concussion protocol, he's going to throw for 360 in a game, go 24 of 28 or 30 of 37 for 3 touchdowns and no picks. He's got spectacular in him. He only rents it. He doesn't live there. And that's just, Matty, I told you at the beginning of this season, and I think in the first month, that you're not winning a Super Bowl at quarterback with him. You're just not. And that's a far better player than I was. But I'm just telling you, because you can't have these bouts where when you're driving through a neighborhood and about every 50 yards, there's one of those speed bumps that drive you crazy, but they want people to slow down. That's Derek Carr. That every now he run into a speed bump and you're like, dude, you're such a good player one week. The great ones don't have, they have bad games. Everybody has them. But the inconsistencies of, and I don't judge a guy by the money he makes. I could give a rat's rear end about that. I care about your performance under duress. And I also told you, if you're getting hit, what does Brian Flores like? He'll pressure you. You're getting hit, knocked around. Keep an eye on that, because things change in decisions for quarterbacks. Some elevate, some disappear, or a little bit more meek and submissive on the attack factor. I think Derek Carr is a hell of a player. Derek Carr's not a great quarterback. He's a really good one. But this is what you're going to get. And with Jameis, we'll get to same thing. Throw you back into it, then throw you out of it. Matter of fact, Matty, I'm not very good at much, but with both of these guys, it's just we hit it. It's spot on. One's the inconsistent, they're both will put up huge numbers. They will both make you say wow for different reasons on the good side. And then at some point, you're going to throw your hat and clipboard. You're going to rip off your headset and say, what are you looking at? What in the world did you see? And so I can tell you this, if the Saints are going to win another Super Bowl anytime soon, they have to. Now, I'm not even talking about cap restrictions and all the money they got. I'm just talking about strictly on the field play. Their Super Bowl winner is not on their roster at that position. And I hate to say it, and others may skirt around, and it's no diss. They're both better players. We got a Heisman and we got $100 million. I mean, hellified players. You don't have to be the greatest to still win in the league. But winning gets you where most guys live, Are you a January guy or a February guy? And I'm just telling you now, I don't believe you have a February guy in the building at that position. Good, put up numbers, look great sometimes, but sometimers don't make Super Bowls, and sometimers don't live consistently where they need to for a team. You want me to go around the league, and there's not a lot of them. I go around the league and tell you the guys this year who aren't written space, they're living in success because why? They just get it, and there's a different feel about what they do. You don't have that guy on your roster. Great, really, really damn good players, but the elite of the great, there's only a handful of those, and neither one of these guys are doing that for you.
And every one of those players that reside in great, Sean, were drafted by their team. And the Saints refuse to take that risk.
Why? Yeah, I don't get it.
They've done it once in their history, Sean. They've done it once.
You know, on my show, yeah, Maddie, do you know every year on my show when we're talking about teams that need the position, do you realize that I think for the last half a dozen years on my iHeart Radio, my Sean Salisbury show, you start to say, okay, they got to draft one this year, right? They got to draft that guy. They got to find Stroud or that guy this year, right? Even if you got your veteran star on your roster, you've got to find him, right? And every year it's out this building, try this guy, move the running back to quarterback, go get a guy who threw 30 picks, who's a good player and a good numbers guy, but he also threw 30, threw the ball to the other team. That's a lot. Some guys, hell, at Stroud's rate, it'll take him 6 years to get to that point in one season. Somebody got in one season. Like I said, I have so much respect for what those two quarterbacks do and who they are. But I also know that if you're really being honest as a fan and not kissing rear end or not criticizing personal, it's nothing personal. It's football play. You are going to have to find somebody else and probably get that guy that you grows up in a system, unless, of course, Pat Mahomes decides he wants to play in New Orleans next year, which that ain't going to happen. So I don't know how you do it, Matty, but I'm just telling you, this is a roster on defense and on offense. And Dobbs played his ass off. Again, we talked about last week what he's doing right now. It's one of the great stories these last 2 weeks in football. And Minnesota, don't look now, is in a playoff position. But for the Saints and for what we're watching, they need to be better. This is inexcusable because they've got really good players, and you can't live like this, man. And you got to protect the ball, and you've got to be more explosive on a weekly basis.
He is Sean Salisbury, good enough to join us every single Tuesday here during football season. Great insight as always. President of the Pro Sports Fans app. So download Pro Sports Fans in your app store or on your smartphone. Pro Sports Fans. Download it today. Of course, make sure you follow him on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. You're the best. Appreciate you as always, man. Thanks, you,
brother. You'd think I was the one calling play. I'm so frustrated with you. You think I'm calling plays for the Saints and like, what are we doing? But yeah, man, I appreciate it. Hang in there, brother. We still got another half of that season to go too, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.